planetary princesses, and you have landed on our planet. A spell has been cast, and now you are one of us.
Hello and welcome to Planetary Princesses, your royal invitation to the cosmos. I'm Kate.
And I'm Ashlee.
And we're so excited to have you here with us today as we decode the energy of Cynthia Erivo, a woman whose voice seems to carry both heaven and earth at once, grounded in truth, yet touched by something divine.
She was born on January 8th, 1987 in London, England. Cynthia is a true Capricorn sun, here to build beauty with purpose and devotion. We don't have her exact birth time, but that just adds to her mystery, and we have some theories.
Of course we do. And before we dive into her chart, let's talk about her story, because Cynthia's career has been nothing short of extraordinary. From the London stage to Broadway to Hollywood, she's built a legacy rooted in devotion, discipline, and divine timing, the perfect reflection of her Capricorn sun.
Totally. She was born in London to Nigerian parents. She really found her calling early on, studying at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art before stepping into the spotlight with her Tony-winning performance of The Color Purple. And from there, she's become a Grammy, an Emmy, and a Tony Award-winning artist, and a 3-time Oscar nominee, known for her ability to move the audience with just one note or one single glance.
Her talent really feels both disciplined and divine. You can sense her Capricorn sun in the way that she commands the stage, but also her dreamlike sensitivity, that soulful depth that makes her performances unforgettable. And since stepping into the spotlight, Cynthia Erivo has built a film and television resume that reflects both range and courage. Early on, she delivered standout performances in movies such as Bad Times at the El Royale in 18, and also Widows, which helped establish her as a serious actor. And her portrayal of the legendary Harriet Tubman in Harriet in 2019 earned her widespread acclaim and showcased her ability to inhabit a role with depth, presence, and truth.
And on television, she also took on the role of Aretha Franklin in the series Genius Aretha in 2021, which landed her a Primetime Emmy nomination. And then came one of her most highest profile roles yet. Erivo played Elphaba Truck, the misunderstood green-skinned witch in the film adaptation of Wicked 2024. And in this performance, she brought together her singing, her acting, and her physicality, even undergoing some intense preparation, including the stunt work and the transformation into the Cynthia green makeup to fully embody the character.
The story of Wicked explores Elphaba's journey before and during her transformation into the Wicked Witch of the West, and Cynthia anchors the film with emotional reality, boldness, and vulnerability. And the story doesn't end there. She returns in the sequel, Wicked for Good, this year, where Elphaba's arc deepens further, and Cynthia teases a character who is delicious in this next version of the role.
And now she's stepping into a new creative chapter. She wrote a book. It's called Simply More. And it's a book for anyone who has been told that they're too much. It's coming out later this year. So today, let's honor an artist who's built worlds with her voice, who wears courage like couture, and who continues to remind us that authenticity is the most powerful kind of performance. So let's kind of chat a little bit about why we love Cynthia so much. Kate, you want to start?
Yes, well, we could talk forever about why we love Cynthia. Let's just give a few of our individual opinions here. So, first of all, just like her authenticity and her voice as a person, she comes across as grounded and thoughtful and real in interviews. And she uses her platform to speak about identity, growth, and transformation honestly. And that vulnerability makes her more relatable and inspiring. And Ashlee, tell us, what do we love about her voice and her musical abilities?
Oh my God, she's brilliant. Her singing is powerful and expressive, and it's also emotionally rich. She moves effortlessly across the genres and conveys like depth through her tone and her phrasing. And people often say that they feel her music when they hear it. So her range spans roughly from a low A3 to a high C6 and sometimes even higher, giving her a lot of flexibility when she sings to move between like the rich lower tones and like those brilliant high belts. Her belt is like remarkable. It's bright and resonant and sustained with ease, and it's showing advanced breath support and diaphragm control. She has this unique ability to blend technique of her singing with also storytelling, and every note that she does has like this intention behind it. Even at her most powerful, her tone never becomes harsh or forced. She maintains a vibrato and phrasing that carries emotional nuance, often giving listeners the sense that she's feeling the song as much as she's singing it.
What a beautiful voice she has. And though she's rooted in musical theater, she easily adapts to gospel, soul, R&B, and pop, always infusing the music with authenticity. And she can deliver both raw and soulful grit and crystal clear purity, depending on the emotional demand of the song. And then there's her acting versatility. She's taken on roles that demand serious dramatic weight, such as her role in Harriet, and also roles that call for singing, and stage presence, such as The Color Purple or Wicked. And she shifts between mediums, stage, film, and music with poise. And her determination and work ethic, she often speaks about taking small steps and the discipline of showing up and turning passion into craft. Many admire that she doesn't rely purely on talent, but pairs it with focus. Her roles don't feel superficial. She taps into pain, hope, resilience, and triumph in a way that resonates. Many reviewers reference the quiet fury and the integrity she brings to her characters. And of course, her incredible sense of style. We'll talk more about that when we get to her Venus in Sagittarius. But first, let's use all the knowledge we've learned from our All About Rising Signs episode and speculate on her rising sign based on her appearance. Ashlee, let's get into it.
This is one of my favorite hobbies is to guess someone's rising sign. But let's first remind everyone what the rising sign is. It's your first impressions that you make, and it's the energy that someone gives off even before they say a word. So it's like the whole vibe, it's the aura, and it's the way they move through the room. So it's before we know someone's story and who they are, before we know their sun and the moon, the rising sign is that immediate sense of like, who's this? And if you watched our Rising Signs episode, you're already an expert. So when we look at Cynthia, her presence, her posture, her fashion, and the striking way that she commands the stage, we could start to guess what energy is rising in her chart. So she's often described as having an oval face shape, one that's admired for symmetry and graceful proportions. Her forehead is slightly wider than her chin, creating a soft taper toward the jawline that gives her features this balanced and harmonious look. There's a gentle roundness to her face, like no sharp edges. It's like this effortless softness that draws attention straight to her eyes and expression. It's this kind of symmetry that people notice. There was once this viral TikTok that called her the perfect face ratio. And by keeping her head shaved, she really leans in to that natural structure and lets it shine. And as she once told Essence magazine, I just stopped being afraid of my face. My hair was really long. I wanted to spend less time doing it. And now you have to see my face.
Wow, a confident queen. Love to hear it. And Actually, Ashlee, I would love for you to talk about your speculations based on the Sabian symbols, because this is a part of your astrology practice that you are just a real expert in. So tell us about what you think based on some of the degrees in her chart.
Oh, you're so sweet. I love how you called me an expert in something. Yeah, I am kind of like obsessed with the Sabian symbols. I use them all the time in a reading. They're just an image that goes with each degree, and I kind of use it like a tarot reader would use a deck. I look at the image that comes with each symbol to kind of really give a nuanced flavor based on the degree we're looking at. So I was kind of thinking of like which Sabian symbols would give the aura of a bald head. Like, what symbol would make someone shave their head and look so good at it? So, for one, there's Virgo placements at 1 degrees. That gives the Sabian symbol of a bald head. And the caption is, in a portrait, the significant features of a person's head are artistically emphasized. So this is a symbol that literally references the head, and it's probably one of the only degrees I think in the zodiac that does reference a head. And it's about distillation, emphasizing what's essential, removing what's unnecessary, and revealing the true essence of someone or something. And in art, it's simplifying detail to capture meaning. In a person, it can mean embodying this type of minimalist beauty where people and events tied to this degree. Like if your rising is at this degree, if your sun is at Virgo 1 degree, you might have like this really distinctive face that conveys presence. Also, if you have a placement at this degree, you might naturally just prefer like a really clean aesthetic, short hair, minimalist beauty, and sleek silhouettes. Now, if we look at the sign of Aries, Aries actually rules the head. So any Aries degrees, if you have like a lot of Aries placements in your chart, especially at 0 to 5 degrees, if you have any placements here or any aspects to this placement, it could show someone who likes a bold look, maybe even a minimalist haircut, or someone who can project confidence without needing like a ton of makeup or like this big hairstyle.
That's so interesting because I have my rising at 0 degrees Aries, and we talked about it in our rising sign episode. But yeah, I've had an emphasis on the head in my life. Like I'm always running into things, banging my head. So that's a little different than beautiful Cynthia's expression of this placement. But I love that you brought up Aries and how it rules the head there.
Yeah, totally.
Well, also, we got to talk about Saturn and baldness in regards to Cynthia's appearance, because Saturn rules age, restriction, and reduction. So, strong Saturn signatures can symbolically simplify appearance, including hair. And Saturn aspects to the ascendant, Sun, or Venus, or even Saturn ruling the first house, are sometimes seen in charts of people who choose to shave their head or experience hair loss. We do know that Cynthia's sun in Capricorn is Saturn ruled, which can emphasize minimalism, restraint, or maturity, and manifest in preferring or embracing baldness.
And then Taurus risings often have these strong sculpted features that are confident in their natural form. And many people who have a Taurus rising, they keep a minimal kind of look because their beauty is definitely timeless. It's like that Venus look without an ornament. And I always feel like some Taurus risings kind of look like a statue, like the way how their face is done. It's just like pretty and it doesn't need all this makeup or all this glam because it just looks good as it is. And when we go back and look at Cynthia's whole vibe and appearance without actually getting to know her, without getting to know her Capricorn and Saturn ruled sun, she actually does seem a lot like a Venus ruled person, which would point to either a Libra rising or a Taurus rising. But based on the symmetry of her features and also the roundness to her face, especially to her eyes, they're a little round. I would lean and probably say she's a Taurus rising because Libra risings often have like a more light, airy, and almost delicate quality to their beauty, when Taurus risings tend to radiate something much more grounded, like a stillness or a sense of natural elegance that feels both structured and serene. There's like this quiet confidence to it that's both beautiful and also unbothered. Like, I'm thinking about lunch, as we said before. And honestly, her posture even gives Taurus rising energy. There's something about the way that Cynthia just holds herself, like her neck and her shoulders, that feels calm and grounded. So, Taurus risings, like we said, have an elegant stillness, like they're rooted in the moment without even trying. And when she sings and stands on the stage, she doesn't even need to like do anything to command all this attention, because when she's still, she has total power. And you could see it in the way that she lifts her chin, the confidence, and in her posture. It's this beauty that feels strong and centered and quietly magnetic. Very Taurus ruled and very Taurus rising.
Wow, I love everything you just said, and it makes so much sense for her to be a Taurus rising. I completely agree. I also think that she's a Taurus rising. She has that strong, grounded presence when we see her on the red carpet or performing on stage, and it feels comfortable and sensual and even a bit stubborn. Like she knows what she's doing, and she's doing it her way, and she's not easily swayed by others' influence. And her style also screams Venus ruled to me. With her Venus in Sagittarius, she's always telling a story with her look and focused on sharing the perspectives of not only the designer of her clothes, but even the art of her nail technician, who she always shouts out during red carpet interviews. She talks about sitting in the chair for like 4+ hours getting her nails done, which feels very Venus ruled and Taurus rising coded to me.
She does have like really cool nails. They're really long and they're always decorated perfectly.
I actually saw someone for Halloween dressed up as Cynthia Erivo's nail. Like they were just one of her nails. And it was like intricately decorated. It was so funny. I love Halloween for that reason.
I love that you love Halloween now.
Thank you. Yes, Ashlee knows this is a recent thing for me getting into Halloween, and it's been fun this year. I watched Hocus Pocus for the first time. Don't come at me. I loved it. But now that we talked about this rising sign assessment, let us know in the comments if you agree or if you think we're totally off and maybe she's a Libra rising, Capricorn rising. But the planetary princesses both agree that if we had to put money on it, we would bet that she's a Taurus rising. And now that we're done speculating, let's talk about what we know for sure, which is that Cynthia has a Capricorn sun. And Ashlee, tell us all about the day she was born.
Well, she was born on January 8th. And what happens in January? Well, the days are short, the mornings are pale, and the Capricorn sun, it made brief golden appearances through the misty gray skies. That astrological snapshot became Cynthia's blueprint, her rhythm, her pattern, and the potential that she carries through life. And if you listen to our Winter Signs Through the Seasons episode, you've seen the mood board and you know all about the vibes of Capricorn season. The 12 Signs Through the Seasons is a great listen, by the way, if you're looking to learn astrology, because every planet, every degree, every beam of light creates an energetic imprint like a celestial fingerprint. We have a playlist on our YouTube channel that you can watch that will dive into the seasons anytime you want.
Yes, please check it out. It's a really fun way, like Ashlee said, to learn. And so let's talk about the main light of Cynthia's personality. It's like how the sun is when it's in Capricorn, like Ashlee just described. So the core of her personality is like winter sunlight. It's steady, serious, but full of quiet abundance. It doesn't rush or waste its warmth. Instead, it creates structure, giving time a shape and rhythm. And this is the light that teaches patience, discipline, and purpose. Under Capricorn's glow, things take form. Dreams get built brick by brick, promises get kept, and wisdom grows in the spaces where effort meets faith. And Cynthia brings the kind of energy that reminds us that magic shows up as commitment, maturity, and quiet satisfaction of seeing something through. And it really shows up in the way we see Cynthia. You can feel that Capricorn light in her. There's a quiet power to her. It's the kind of light that doesn't need to prove itself because it's built from consistency and craft. And so she carries that serious, abundant Capricorn glow where discipline becomes art. Every note she sings, every role she steps into, it feels earned. And her presence creates structure. Time almost bends around her focus. She moves through her work with the patience of someone who knows greatness takes time. Yet her energy radiates success, not strain. You can sense the years of dedication behind the moment she opens her mouth to sing. That's pure Capricorn magic, the light that builds empires one steady heartbeat at a time.
Aw, that's such a sweet little tribute to Cynthia. And let's talk about how her sun is at 17 degrees in Capricorn. So, according to degree theory, which assigns a zodiac sign with each number, for example, 1 degree is Aries and 2 degrees is Taurus, so on, so on. That means that any placement at 17 degrees will give her Capricorn sun energy a Leo flavor. So let us know in the comments if you'd like us to do an episode explaining degree theory in depth, because it's such a cool thing and we like to use it in our readings. So with Cynthia's sun at 17 degrees, there's a blend of dignity, discipline, and radiance. That's Capricorn at its most commanding, like the archetype of the master builder, the professional who turns pressure into diamonds, but with Leo's warmth and creative pride woven through. In Cynthia, it kind of shows up as this regal self possession and a calling to use her voice as both art and authority. She doesn't even just perform, it's like she represents everything. Her Capricorn sun gives her the stamina and precision to reach the highest levels of mastery, while this Leo undertone infuses every note and every role that she plays with her heart and with courage and presence. And you could feel this Capricorn Leo mix when she sings. It's the discipline of a soldier, the pride of a queen, and the warmth of someone who knows that her light is meant to be seen.
Wow, that's so cool to really understand the why she gives kind of a Leo vibe. That's why once you get into reading people's charts, you can just get to know them on such a deep level and really understand them better. And also part of this, we're going to go back to Sabian symbols again, part of Ashlee's astrology practice. And Ashlee, if you could talk about the symbolic image with the Capricorn placements from 17 to 18 degrees.
Oh, yeah, totally. So if you have any Capricorn placements between 17 and 18 degrees, it's going to give this symbolic image of a Union Jack flying from a British warship. So what? Let's unpack this. The image of like a ship at war, it brings up themes of discipline, control, and strength right away. And this is not like a small boat just sailing nicely in the ocean, but it's a massive organized vessel that follows command and moves with purpose. And the flag that's on the warship will add a whole nother layer to it. It's the symbol of belonging and allegiance. And it declares, this is who we represent. A little bit of slight amount of pride there. So at its core, this degree will show what happens when one individual becomes part of something that's much larger than them, like an institution or a mission, a cause, or even this whole collective identity that they're a part of. It highlights the trade off between freedom and structure. When we align with a greater force, we gain safety and influence, but we also take on a responsibility and rules that will limit our own personal autonomy. And from this, we can tell that Cynthia's sun makes her look deep within herself often. And it asks herself to examine how she uses her own power, whether it's an external authority through leadership roles, reputation, or institutions, or is it coming from her own internal power, such as discipline, self-control, or emotional composure. It shows that power can be noble and protective when it's guarded through integrity, but it also can be oppressive when it's driven through ego and fear. So her sun is showing that she lives through experiences where she must represent a group or a system, like maybe she's a leader in teams at times, or serving a cause, or carrying a cultural or ancestral story forward. The challenge is for her to maintain her authenticity within that role and to serve this whole collective identity, but without being consumed by the structure. So she's also learning that to have strength, you don't have to be harsh. The warship protects, but it doesn't need to fire its cannons unless it's provoked. So this degree gives her this message that real authority will come from quiet confidence and not from being like overly dominant. So there's also, when you have your sun at this degree, there's like this subtle loneliness that you kind of carry. Maybe you're the one who's flying the flag. You actually become a symbol, sometimes even losing the privacy of just being yourself. So people will project expectations onto you, and you might become the face of a collective, whether it's like your own community or your own art, your family, or your ideals. So this degree often belongs to people who carry a sense of duty, those who understand that their presence holds weight, and those who feel compelled to act responsibly and to move with purpose and to make their life something so tangible. So for Cynthia, with her sun here, the symbol shows that she has a destiny of embodying strength, representation, and grace under pressure without being consumed by it or showing major dominance. So when she performs, she's representing her artist self, her discipline, and her visibility for many people. Her work carries both a Capricorn sense of purpose and a Leo degree pride of performance. So, like this warship, she moves with control and direction. And like the flag, she symbolizes identity, pride, and presence. This energy also explains why she's naturally drawn to stories of resilience and power, like Harriet and the color purple. She channels the moral weight of this degree through her voice and her craft, commanding respect by embodying mastery and heart at the same time.
Oh, wow. Such a powerful way to explore Cynthia's energy. I love hearing you talk about this, Ashlee. And let us
Oh.
know in the comments if you want an episode exploring Sabian symbols in more depth, because that would be really fun and so many images that we could bring some insight to with your knowledge.
Yeah, we can look at the most popular suns and moons and the symbols behind it, or we can have some of our listeners comment of what their sun and moon is, and we can explore the symbol behind it.
Ooh, I love that idea. Okay, great. Everybody take to the comments if you think that sounds like fun, because we think it sounds like fun. All right, now we also want to talk about how Cynthia's sun is connected to Ariana's rising. So both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande carry serious Capricorn power, but in different ways. Cynthia's sun in Capricorn makes her the essence of the sign, the builder, the strategist, the artist who turns discipline into devotion. And Ariana's Capricorn rising, which we talked about in our Ariana deep dives previous to this episode, her Capricorn rising means that she embodies the sun sign energy that Cynthia has. She has the polished expression, poise, and precision that bring Capricorn's magic to life. It's like Cynthia is the architect and Ariana is the architecture. And when someone's sun connects with another person's rising, there's an instant recognition. The sun person shines light on the rising person's potential. And so, with Cynthia's Capricorn sun illuminating Ariana's Capricorn rising, there's this sense that Cynthia truly sees Ariana, not just as a performer, but as a woman stepping into her power and maturity. And together, they hold that balance of elegance and strength, sensuality, and grace. And on screen, their chemistry makes everything feel more intentional, like the space itself becomes sacred. Cynthia's warmth and wisdom steady Ariana's emotional expression, while Ariana's presence softens Cynthia's authority, adding color and sensitivity. It's a beautiful exchange and proof that discipline and artistry are two expressions of the same creative heartbeat. Together, they reveal a new face of Capricorn, not cold or corporate, but devotional, visionary, and unstoppable. Both carry that quiet commitment to mastery, showing that true excellence isn't luck, it's devotion, purpose, and pride. Their shared Capricorn tone gives them a mutual respect, a recognition of depth in an industry that often celebrates flash.
Oh, that's so cool. I just love seeing them together. They make such a good, like, couple on the camera.
They do. They absolutely do. It's like when they're together, like you could make a statue of the two of them. Very Capricorn vibes, timeless.
Yeah, we need dolls of them.
Yes, yes, actually, thank you for bringing that up because they have a bunch of dolls made in their likeness for this movie, and that is very like their Capricorn vibes working together. It's why even their dolls look good together.
So cute. So when you're looking at someone's sun sign to understand them better, like when you know their typical zodiac sign, don't forget to check which planet actually rules the sign and to see what sign that planet is in, because that's where the real flavor of their sun sign comes through. So people who are Capricorn suns are going to be actually their sun and personality is ruled by the planet Saturn. And what's special about Cynthia's cosmic energy is that she has both Saturn and Uranus conjunct in Sagittarius since she's born in 1987. That means that her Capricorn sun is actually being controlled by this rebellious and philosophical energy that many of the older millennials carry in their auras. So basically, all people born in late 1986 through early 1989 carry this super cool energetic signature of Saturn and Uranus conjunct together working in Sagittarius. So, Kate, do you want to break this down for everyone?
Yes. So Saturn is the planet of structure, discipline, and long term growth. It wants to create stability through hard work and accountability. It's the part of us that understands rules, hierarchy, and responsibility. Uranus is the planet of revolution, originality, and awakening. It refuses to follow the rules that Saturn loves so much. Instead, it pushes for freedom, individuality, and change. It shakes things up, breaks patterns, and invites sudden flashes of insight that disrupt the status quo. And Sagittarius is the philosopher of the zodiac. It rules higher education, religion, worldviews, and exploration, both physical and spiritual. In Sagittarius, we seek meaning. We crave experiences that expand the mind and the soul. So during the late 1980s, when these two planets, Saturn and Uranus, were conjunct in Sagittarius, the world was getting a taste of revolution and reconnection, breaking old boundaries and imagining what freedom could look like. So, this was the end of the Cold War era. The rigid global divides were beginning to crumble. The Berlin Wall hadn't fallen yet, but cracks were forming, both literally and symbolically. And that's the essence of Saturn and Uranus, old empires restructuring, truth breaking through censorship, and systems evolving toward freedom.
We started seeing also at this time a birth through connection, through innovation. So people were starting to like really have computers in their households, and even some cell phones were becoming accessible. I mean, they were big and probably not the best, but they were in people's cars. And it was giving people ideas of how we really can be more connected with each other. Because before then, there was no internet or computer or anything like that. And now it's becoming more of an accessible thing in people's lives. And that's setting the stage for how we live today. It's that Sagittarian theme of global connection, but it's grounded in reality by Saturn structure. And also, space exploration was starting to expand then. The MIR space station launched in 1986, symbolizing a long term collaboration. But we also saw that terrible Challenger disaster Oh my God, I was in the first grade then. And a collective wake up call about human limits and ambition. This was progress meeting humility, a key of the Saturn and Uranus lesson. And what about pop culture? What was going on in pop culture in like 1987?
Ooh, this was era of MTV that was reshaping the culture, and icons like Madonna, Prince, and Michael Jackson were pushing boundaries of expression. Hip hop and rap were emerging as powerful tools for truth and rebellion, Uranus energy sparking through art. And with Sagittarius involved, storytelling itself became a force for education and freedom. And like the late 80s also saw the rise of the New Age movement, which was a merging of spirituality, psychology, and Eastern philosophy. And people were questioning traditional religion and turning toward astrology, meditation, and holistic healing. Environmental and peace movements were growing too. Humanity was awakening to its global impact. And even the 1987 stock market crash reminded everyone that systems built on illusion need restructuring. Again, Saturn meets Uranus.
So crazy. So yeah, that was a crazy time. This era was all about breaking free from dogma and expanding your consciousness and finding truth through actual lived experience versus like what's in this textbook to straight up believe it. And that's a theme that echoes beautifully in Cynthia Erivo's chart and the kind of story she chooses to tell. So what's important, what we want everyone to understand from this is if you were born during this time, you carry this energy in your own aura. So you got this point in your chart that blends structure and freedom in a way that no generation before you could. It's a powerful frequency representing a micro generation of reformers, the ones who upgrade old systems with wisdom and heart. So if you were born during this time, you carry this in you for life. And because Cynthia was born during this time and she's a Capricorn, so Saturn and Uranus is really impacting her personality, this gives her some special gifts that it would probably give you too if you were born during this time, especially if you were a Capricorn. Kate, what would you say that Cynthia carries? Like, what gifts does she have from being a Capricorn during this time?
So, Cynthia, because she has this energetic signature in her chart, and also if you were born around this time, you also have these gifts. You're a bridge between worlds. You're the living link between old school tradition and future innovation. You can speak both languages, structure and freedom, discipline and creativity. You bring vision into form, and you carry a built in reality disruptor frequency. Simply by being yourself, you make people rethink what's possible. You upgrade systems just by existing inside of them, showing others how things could work better. What a special gift that we all need in society. And you don't rebel for rebellion's sake. You rebel and rebuild with purpose. This energy makes you allergic to hypocrisy and blind obedience. You feel called to restore integrity to the things that have lost it: leadership, education, spirituality, and even success itself. You really turn chaos into design. Saturn gives you endurance, Uranus gives you brilliance. You're wired to innovate, to see blueprints where others see breakdowns. And you build the future through wisdom, not destruction. Your revolution is thoughtful and lasting, grounded, spiritual, and visionary all at once. You're also a system hacker. You're someone who sees how structures work and you instinctively rewrite the code. You evolve authority itself, respecting wisdom, rejecting control, and becoming your own guiding compass. Your presence holds a paradox: stability that electrifies. People feel safe and inspired around you. You ground higher frequencies into form, and you act as a stabilizer for change and a lightning rod for progress. And so we're so excited and interested to hear about Cynthia's cosmic peers, aka the class of 2005. You were all in school together, collectively carrying this energy. Were your teachers okay? Like, did you all get in trouble often? Please let us know in the comments because this is a wild and exciting energy that we all need to appreciate more of.
I am ready now to talk about Cynthia's Mars. It's probably my favorite part of her chart because she has like this really rare Mars placement, and we'll get into it. So Mars shows how we take action, how we go after what we want, how we express our desire and drive. It's our fire that moves us. And why Cynthia's Mars is so cool is, for one, it's in Pisces, but it's at 29 degrees, the very last degree of the zodiac. And I think that's a really big deal because the 29th degree of any sign in astrology, it's known as the anaretic degree or the master's degree because it represents energy that has gone through every experience that the sign can offer, and it's reached full emotional and spiritual maturity. So in Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, it becomes incredibly profound. It's like her Mars is graduating from the school of human emotion, making her extra, extra wise, compassionate, intuitive, and just cosmic all at once. And what makes it so cool is that it's both the ending of a current cycle and it's also the seed for a new cycle, maybe like a star seed. Mars at the final degree of Pisces holds this ancient wisdom because it's already dreaming of Aries, the spark of new beginnings. So it's like a bridge between two different worlds when she takes action, between endings and rebirth. And that's why when you look at her and you see how she moves, it feels straight up timeless. Like she's lived hundreds of lives, but still moves with youthful passion. And her drive doesn't come from like ego or competition, like, can I sing better than everyone? But it comes from straight up empathy and artistry and even transcendence. She doesn't fight like with force or like weapons, I guess you could say. Like, I don't know, I'm just making up a term. She fights with grace and moves with purpose. And she channels the divine instead of brute force, like someone who has their Mars and, I don't know, Aries might have. When she performs, it's more of a technique. It's an energy transmission. It's healing and almost devotional. So Mars in Pisces is like the dreamer's warrior. It's the artist who can move mountains through music. It's the activist who heals instead of divides. And it's the leader who inspires through straight up grace. So her Mars placement acts through music, creativity, healing, and emotional resonance. So sometimes someone with this placement, maybe even Cynthia, like I don't know her personally, but I would strongly guess this about her. She can get really mad about something that makes total sense to her, but to the outsider, to other people, they have no idea, like, while she's mad. Does that make sense?
Yes, because it's that mutable water quality that Mars in Pisces has. Mars in Pisces is kind of like quiet forms of resistance. It's like the sigh, the silent treatment, the sudden ghosting instead of saying what's wrong. It can be like a self-sacrifice for peace and taking blame to keep harmony, or even burying rage until it leaks out as tears. And at 29 degrees, that sensitivity is heightened to psychic levels. The shadow here of this placement is carrying the weight of the world, absorbing pain that isn't hers, or slipping into fog when anger has nowhere to go. Yet this placement is really pure alchemy. Since Cynthia has her Mars at this degree, chances are she's experiencing both the light and the shadow of this degree and is incorporating this into all of her life lessons. She's really a transmuter of emotion, and her Mars transforms emotion into artistry, the cry in the dressing room and then walk on stage and channel it into gold archetype. She takes faith, love, and grief and gives them new form. And as we have seen, it's probably why she cries a lot in interviews with Ariana. That's really a signature of Mars and Pisces, especially at this degree. And this is Mars' highest expression, making energy visible. In Pisces at 29 degrees, it becomes divine creation, closing something ancient, while opening a path for others. And this explains why there's something that feels so out of this world about her. Like, we can't see it, but we can feel it. And behind the grounded and earthy look that she has, there's really pure, sensitive magic.
Oh, that's so pretty. It just shows because there's always something, even though Cynthia is full of earth signs, there is something so magical about her. And someone with their Mars and Pisces does give that magical vibe. But at the same time, sometimes you just don't know like what they're upset about. Like she's definitely, I would bet so much money that she definitely cries in the dressing room, like you said, cries backstage, and everyone's like, what's wrong? And she'll tell them, but no one can like figure out while she's so upset. It's like one of those things. Or even I noticed that people with Mars and Pisces, they tend to just get mad at like the most random times. Like something from the week before will just randomly piss them off. And to them, it's everything. But to other people, they're like, where did this come from? So that's the thing with any kind of Pisces placement, because everything is so blended together that they might be taking things that Mr. Logical Lance is like, what is going on here? You know?
Totally. Totally. That's such a great way to describe that energy. So we feel for you, Pisces placements. It can be a lot feeling all of those feelings together.
And one other shadow I just want to say about Mars and Pisces is think of Ramona from The Real Housewives of New York. I would say she's the shadow side of Mars and Pisces. So if you watch that show, like watch her and she's showing it because she will just fly off the handle and you're just like, what? Like, where did that even come from?
Oh, it's so funny. I bet there's a lot of people that are just nodding their heads hearing that for sure. Well, now that we talked about her incredible magical Mars, let's talk about her beautiful Venus. And as a reminder, Venus is the planet that describes how we love, what we value, and what beauty means to us. It's our magnetism, the way we attract what we want, and the kind of energy we bring into relationships and art and pleasure. Your Venus sign tells the story of how you open your heart, how you express affection, and what makes you feel adored or inspired. It's about aesthetic instinct, like how you decorate your world, the kind of people and experiences that light you up, and what makes life feel truly beautiful. And Cynthia has her Venus in Sagittarius, just like me, planetary Princess Kate. And this is fun loving, big idea energy. So, Ashlee, tell me about me and Cynthia. What does Venus in Sagittarius mean for us?
I would say that you both fall in love with potential and not the actual perfection side. So you and Cynthia, you're not drawn to what's predictable and safe. You're drawn to the fire that someone's becoming and the evolution of a person, a story, and a dream. So love for you both is like watching someone rise and growing right beside them because Sagittarius is about getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can look at someone and just see how big they can really get and fall in love with them. So for Cynthia, love language really is freedom. I would say Venus in Sagittarius means your heart needs space to breathe, to to be exploratory. I don't even know how to say that, to explore things or to be curious. So when Cynthia feels free, she almost definitely gives everything, like her warmth, her loyalty, and her soul. And there's a lot of joy to her, and that's where her true charm comes out when she is feeling joyful. There's something very magnetic about the way she lights up when she's passionate about something. It's like that Jupiter ruled glow that makes people believe in possibilities. It also gives like Christmas is coming, like that kind of joy, like making every day feel like Christmas is so Venus in Sagittarius.
Oh, Ashlee, I love that you said that because that's what I always say to my husband is I'm like every day is like Christmas. So I love that you said that. That's so true.
I love it. If your Venus is a Sagittarius, that is your magic, making it feel like Christmas is coming, but like the good parts of Christmas, not the hustle and bustle.
Yes.
So I think Venus and Sagittarius is more likely to fall in love on an airplane than at a dinner table. Adventure definitely awakens her heart, and it could be through traveling or just philosophy or even just deep conversations across worlds. Cynthia is definitely drawn to love that explores horizons. She's a philosopher at heart, right? So every relationship becomes a study in courage, faith, and authenticity. Her partners will often bring in new perspectives and offer creative inspiration, helping her live in love more boldly. So she loves freely, but she's definitely not a clinger. Growth in a relationship fades or she feels stagnant, that might make her want to move on. But with that said, endings are not failures, they're evolution to the higher place. And her relationships are catalysts for creation. Love leaves traces in her art, her voice, and her emotion that she channels. Every connection becomes a muse, turning experience into something transcendent. And for Cynthia, love itself is a spiritual awakening, devotion as a holy practice. Love is faith in motion, the courage to trust, and the willingness to leap. Every note that she sings carries that sacred vibration of a heart that truly believes.
Oh, relatable. So relatable for me. Venus is Sagittarius. I love that energy from Cynthia. And also, we got to talk about how her style relates to her Venus in Sagittarius because her style is bold, sculptural, and deeply expressive, much like her artistry. She treats fashion as another form of storytelling, which is so Sagittarius. Her style merges discipline and drama in a way that feels both intentional and fearless. Her red carpet looks often feature strong silhouettes, metallics, and architectural designs. She gravitates towards gowns and suits that command attention, structured corsets, voluminous skirts, or sculpted shoulders, even a sculpted hat, and she balances them with elegance rather than excess. Her style is never random. It feels like each look has purpose and power. And she uses color as an expression, whether it's vivid emerald green, celestial silver, or deep black. Her choices often reflect confidence and emotional depth. There's a subtle theatricality to her palette, as if she's channeling different facets of her roles and inner life through fashion. And she's known for her statement jewelry and creative details, stacked rings, bold earrings, and metallic accents. She often adds personal touches such as symbolic motifs or cultural nods that tie her look to her roots and individuality. And we even had a cosmic royal family member bring to our attention that she received an award in the world of jewelry, and it's just a reflection of how much emphasis she puts on her statement jewelry and how there's really a story behind it. It's not random, it's part of her whole look. And we can't forget how her hairstyles are a defining feature of her image. So she's had platinum blonde buzz cuts, intricate braids, and jeweled embellishments that turn her hair into sculpture. And the buzz cut in particular has become a signature, symbolizing strength, self assurance, and a modern kind of femininity. And above all, people love her style because it feels like her. Like she doesn't chase trends. Instead, she curates looks that express empowerment, creativity, and presence. Whether she's in a dramatic gown or a tailored suit, she wears everything with regal confidence.
Ooh, I love it. And I love that jewelry you pointed out. Shout out to our princess Serena.
Yes. Thank you for telling us about that.
So, what's also really fascinating about Cynthia's chart is how her Mars and her Venus interact. Because when you look at them in a chart and what signs they're in, and also like the angles that they make on the chart with each other, that's going to tell you so much tea about their relationship style. So, her Mars, as we said before, sits at 29 degrees Pisces, right at the final and most spiritually evolved degree of the zodiac. She probably is like a transcendent lover, like tantric sessions with her, I guess you could say. And her Venus, on the other hand, is at 1 degree Sagittarius, the first spark of fire after all that water. And if her Venus was just 1 degree backwards, that would be 29 degrees Scorpio. Her Venus and her Mars would form this perfect, like the most perfect kind of lover you can be, perfect trine, blending passion and artistry in effortless harmony. But because her Venus has already stepped into Sagittarius, it puts like this little energy shift into her love style. Instead of like this easy, perfect flow, it still is pretty perfect, but it gets a little bit more complex, like a conversation between two elements that inspire and yet challenge one another. And what this can do is it creates like this, I guess, magnetic tension in her chart because her Mars in Pisces moves through intuition and feeling, while her Venus in Sagittarius wants adventure, truth, and feeling. So together, they kind of like crash together and make surrender and explosion at the same time. It's love that's spiritual yet fiery, and action that's emotional and brave. It's what gives her artistry this unmistakable mix of soul and electricity, where every performance feels both raw and transcendent.
Yes, this gives her like a natural magnetism that's hard to define. Like we feel it when we look at her. It's passion mixed with prayer. In its highest form, this aspect makes her love and create with deep emotional intelligence. And because Mars in Pisces acts from instincts, from dreams, from something unseen, while Venus in Sagittarius chases truth, adventure, and creative risk. So together they form a chemistry that's really spiritual and unrestrained, and it translates into performances that make people feel. Like when she sings, she actually channels. Every note holds both devotion and daring, as if her spirit is leaping and surrendering at the same time. It's really, really beautiful energy. And in relationships, this same vibe can make her a lover of extremes. So she may be drawn to people who ignite her soul or open her up to new worlds emotionally, culturally, or spiritually. And she's probably not interested in like half awake connections. She wants a love that feels like revelation. And the good side of this is that she inspires those around her to grow, believe, and live honestly. But the challenge is that her idealism can sometimes outpace reality because Venus in Sagittarius has faith and love's potential, while Mars and Pisces can get swept into saving or sacrificing. And so when those mix, she might give too much of herself to love or lose her sense of grounding, chasing a vision of what could be rather than what is.
Yeah, so this combination will make a creative superpower because Mars and Pisces will give her a sixth sense for emotional timing, knowing how to move, when to pause, and how to even let silence speak, while her Venus in Sagittarius keeps her performance passionate and alive. She can make people cry and feel inspired at the same time because her art holds both sensitivity and courage. But this emotional openness, I feel like it could also be exhausting. When she gives everything, there's going to definitely be times where she needs to back away and retreat to refill like her energy. Mars and Pisces can burn out through empathy, and Venus and Sagittarius can definitely overextend itself through enthusiasm, which really can be exhausting. But still, this alchemy between the two planets is what makes Cynthia so magnetic. She embodies this paradox of being both a dreamer, a warrior, a seeker, and a healer. And the tension that Mars and Venus creates in her chart, it doesn't tear her apart, I don't think. It gives her this unforgettable spark and the feeling that she's not singing, not just from her voice, but from her soul's actual horizon rising.
That's such a cool interaction with those two planets. It's just, it really says a lot about why we perceive her in this way, especially in her role in Wicked. Like, I think it's a perfect blend for that, for her to come onto the world stage in that role. And now that we talked about Mars and Venus and how they interact and everything, we got to talk about Cynthia's moon because the moon is what represents your inner world. And it's the part of us that feels and reacts and needs comfort. It's how we process emotion and how we nurture ourselves and what makes us feel safe and seen. So, if the sun is our identity and our purpose, the moon is our emotional climate. And it shows what we need on a soul level to feel at peace. Because your moon sign speaks in feelings, it's your instincts and your moods and your private self. It's the part of you that only a few people get to see. So, Ashlee, tell us, what is the part of Cynthia that only a few people get to see with her moon sign?
Her moon is in Taurus. So let's talk about the lure of a Taurus moon. So if our moon would be our inner world, then a Taurus moon lives in a temple built of earth, of scent, of sound, and of touch. The moon absolutely loves being in Taurus. It's considered to be exalted there because her emotion finds stability. So imagine this lush garden that never withers, a field or like a field of flowers that knows how to regenerate itself no matter what kind of storm has passed through it. And that's the energy of Taurus moon. It's the archetype of emotional security through the senses and the kind of person who feels safe when life feels tangible, rhythmic, and real. And in mythology, Taurus connects to Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, pleasure, and nature's abundance. So there's definitely something sacred about the way someone with a Taurus moon feels through the world through music and food and scents and warmth and physical presence. When this kind of moon loves you, it doesn't just say, I love you. It's going to totally show you. It's going to be nurturing. It's going to cook for you. It's going to stay beside you and listen to you with their whole body. And this is a heart that believes love should be felt in every sense. But the lore of Taurus moons, it's not just about comfort, it's also about endurance. Because the moon here carries the wisdom of the seasons and the patience to grow something real over time. Taurus energy is slow to trust, but nearly unshakable once it's actually rooted. That can turn a house into a literal sanctuary and a song into a sacred ritual and a moment of peace into a lifelong value.
And the shadow of Taurus moon comes when that need for stability turns into resistance to change. So sometimes this moon holds on too tightly to relationships and routines or feelings that have outlived their purpose. And so the challenge with this moon placement is to remember that true security doesn't come from keeping things the same, but from knowing that you can rebuild them when they shift. So, emotionally, this moon is sensual, steady, and profoundly loyal. It has a natural gift for soothing others. And people with the Taurus moon often find peace with music and art, touch, or ritual, anything that slows the nervous system and reconnects them to beauty. And when they sing or create, the world stops for a moment because we can feel their emotional truth vibrating in the air. And a Taurus moon is the soul that teaches us what it means to stay present, to stay grounded, to stay devoted to what truly matters. It reminds us that peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's the presence of something worth holding. And Cynthia has an interesting aspect of her Taurus moon that gives it a little twist, and it's the opposition that it makes to her natal Pluto placement in Scorpio.
That's
So
tough.
yeah, so it's a little bit of a challenge there. So it's kind of like there's a constant darker or transformative force pulling at this beautiful internal garden that she's created. And it's the dance between serenity and the storm. It's the part of her that wants to stay grounded, meeting the part that knows she was born to be changed by life.
Yeah. When your moon is opposing Pluto, that could be tough because it makes your whole inner, private, and emotional world feel like faded or larger than life. It makes every emotion that you get almost feel like a rebirth. So when her heart breaks, something new in her spirit awakens. When she loves someone, it probably completely consumes her because Pluto pulling at it will intensify her moon, giving her a magnetic emotional presence, but also feeling like something transformative is also pulling at you. That even though you feel nice and still, you will have to eventually transform that into a new kind of stillness. People can feel her soul even when she's silent. And I think feeling this darkness pulling at her stable, calm self, it makes her performances more unforgettable because she can take her own shadows and pain and passion and turn them into something that heals. So when the moon is opposite Pluto, it can create this deep emotional vulnerability and control dynamics. So I'm pretty sure that Cynthia learned early in her life that love might not be stable all the time, or it can also be unpredictable. Like you always feel like no matter when you're in a happy place, that something might just pull on it randomly. It's like that kind of like a feeling of doom that you might sense that's coming. And the reason why she might feel it is because her life has shown that that's what happens. But with that, you learn how to be strong and always ready for this big change. And as a result, she might guard her feelings behind strength or swing between wanting closeness or needing lots of independence, as shown by her Venus in Sagittarius. Emotional intensity will become both her greatest gift and her lifelong teacher. So, what else do you think, Kate? Let's give some juicy things on what happens also that we could say about Cindy because her moon and Pluto are in opposition with each other.
Okay, so here's some little juicy tidbits. So her calm is a mask for intensity. So Cynthia carries herself with grace, patience, and composure, but beneath that surface lives a wild emotional current. Her Taurus moon teaches her how to appear serene, how to breathe through chaos, and how to keep her feet on the ground even when the world tilts. Yet Pluto and Scorpio keep stirring the waters underneath. So she's learned to smile through pain and to make peace look effortless, but inside, she's really wrestling with profound emotional truths. And that calm is mastery, the art of holding intensity without letting it consume her. And she's also drawn to emotional risk. So for Cynthia, comfort can feel like a cage. The Taurus moon may crave safety, but Pluto in Scorpio seduces her towards the edge, toward the experiences that demand transformation. And she's magnetized by emotional depth, by people and projects that make her confront her own power. It's not enough for her to live softly, she needs to feel alive. Every major chapter in her life likely began with a leap into something raw and uncertain because she knows that true evolution requires risking the heart. And as I'm talking about this, it's like, wow, no wonder she portrays Elphaba and Wicked so well, because this is essentially the story of Elphaba that we're describing with her moon opposite Pluto here. Because just like Elphaba, she has a private emotional world that no one fully sees. She's deeply private about her feelings, and her moon in Taurus makes her value emotional containment, while Pluto in Scorpio makes those feelings like far too intense to easily share. She's not guarded for vanity, she's guarded for survival. And she feels things so profoundly that exposure can feel like vulnerability turned inside out. What she doesn't say often ends up in her art instead. Her voice, her expression, her creative fire becomes a safe vessel for truths that she can't articulate in conversation. And that's why when she performs, it feels like we're being allowed to glimpse something sacred.
Yeah, it's so magical, but at the same time, it's not easy to have Pluto opposing your moon because your presence alone can just trigger people. Even though you're being like nice, polite, and on like you're just being a positive person, like people will get triggered by you because her energy will make people naturally confront themselves and their own stuff going on within them. It gives her like this emotional gravity that draws other people in and makes them feel seen, and maybe even uncomfortably so. Like if someone's holding a secret, they might look at Cynthia and like deep down think, oh my God, she knows exactly what's going on with me. And they might run from her. But then Cynthia's standing there like, why is this person running from me? Like, I'm so nice. And
Hmm.
that's a thing that happens when you have an aspect with Pluto on your moon. Like, you just trigger people thinking like you're a witch or something like that. You can like see things because it gives you this intuitive awareness of people's shadows, sensing the true meaning behind their words. And there's something in her energy that will mirror the truth back to other people, as though her very presence will invite other people to make their own transformations, whether they want to or not. So people might see her and run. And believe me, I know all about that. She's been through emotional deaths and rebirths through her life. She's gone through some things. This opposition almost always signals someone who's walked through the fire and came out the other side more than once. So we could probably be sure that in her life, she experienced moments where she had to shed everything she knew about herself, like her identity, her attachment, and her beliefs. And she rose stronger from it because when you have Pluto on your moon or making some kind of aspect to your moon, you're constantly making transformations, maybe even sometimes just through survival. So her life path is built on the rhythm of letting go and beginning again. And with Cynthia, love can feel like dangerous. Maybe, I guess. Her relationships probably don't exist casually. It's very rare she'll go like on a date with someone or a couple of dates and then it just trickles away and they forget about each other. She's very memorable in romance because Pluto opposite the moon will often bring encounters like those karmic relationships where things are very, very intense and consuming and unforgettable. So she's drawn to people who change her, maybe for the better or the worse. And love for her will test her limits. It will definitely challenge her control. And it also might strip away her pretenses. She likely has experienced power struggles in her life, or especially maybe even with her mom, or intense emotional attachments. But yet every relationship has become part of her evolution. So in her life, she is learning that true intimacy doesn't always require surrendering her peace. It requires her to transform her fears.
Wow. As you were speaking, the lyrics from the song For Good, which is in Wicked Part 2 that's coming up, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Like, that is literally Cynthia's Pluto moon opposition in action, that song. Like, because you knew Cynthia, you are changed for good. And something else about this aspect for her too is like she fears vulnerability, but she also craves it. And there's a constant tug of war between her Taurus moon's desire for stability and her Pluto's hunger for emotional depth. So she wants to be known completely, but also to stay safe. And that inner conflict makes her both alluring and mysterious. Like she'll let you close, but only once you've earned her trust through consistency and respect. And when she does finally open up, it's like total. That's why her vulnerability feels so powerful. It's rare, deliberate, and utterly real. It's just the parallels between her and Alphaba. I know I keep saying it, but it's just like, wow, I love learning about this part of her chart because she just portrays this energy so well. And she's also emotionally psychic with this aspect. It gives her an extraordinary emotional intuition. She can sense what others feel before they say a word. And like I keep saying, this helps her into characters and songs and stories with total embodiment. Like she doesn't pretend, she becomes. And that's why audiences believe her because she's channeling something honest and something ancient and visceral. And this same gift can make her absorb others' emotions too easily. So she does need solitude and grounding to return to herself.
I love how you said that. She defies gravity.
Oh my gosh, she totally does. And speaking of wounds that you might have that you alchemize into glory, we have to talk about her Chiron in Gemini. So, Ashlee, tell us, what is Chiron representing in the chart?
Chiron is an asteroid in our chart, and it's the place that holds our deepest wounds and also at the same time, our greatest medicine for other people. It's where we carry like a lifelong old pain, and it's the kind of pain that feels personal, but yet strangely universal. This placement tells the story of where we've been hurt or misunderstood, but also where we hold the power to heal others through our experience. And Chiron's lessons, it's never about making yourself perfect here. It's really about having compassion. And it reminds us that healing, it's not something that we chase. It's something that we embody once we learn to hold our own tenderness with love. So check your charts, and wherever you see the Chiron symbol, that's where you might feel pain, but also where life invites you to turn pain into wisdom, vulnerability into strength, and even empathy into purpose. Now, Cynthia has her Chiron placement in Gemini. Gemini is the sign of information exchange, casually socializing, making small talk, spreading messages, and mingling. Now, Chiron was in Gemini between 1983 and 1988. That was the last time Chiron was there. So if you were born within these 5 years, there's a very good chance that you have your Chiron placement there too. Because these 5 years brought in a group of souls who have a wound around making that small talk, mingling, sharing information. Because Chiron in Gemini carries this wound around communication and the ache of not being heard or not being understood or even feeling like your voice never really landed like the way you meant for it to. So people who were born with this placement, aka between 1983 and 1988, they often grew up in environments where their ideas or thoughts or words might have been like dismissed or interrupted or even misunderstood. And it could create early in life self-doubt about expressing yourself or feeling smart or even belonging. But at the same time, people with this placement are able to heal people, other people, of feeling good about language and connection. So the same wound that's silenced will often transform into this deep gift of helping other people find their voice. And they become translators of the truth and poets, maybe teachers or storytellers or healers that speak more from experience than an abstract theory.
Yes, Chiron in Gemini really reminds us that words can wound, but they can also mend. So the healing begins when the person realizes that their voice doesn't need approval to be powerful. Their thoughts, stories, and questions are medicine. This placement turns communication into compassion, showing others that being heard starts with the courage to speak, even if the voice trembles a little bit. And so
Aw.
here are some traits that Cynthia likely carries along with everyone born between 1983 and 1988 with this placement. So Chiron in Gemini for Cynthia, it speaks through a wound of once being unheard. So, in past experiences or early life, she might have felt like her truth was dismissed, misunderstood, or overshadowed by louder voices. But that ache became the seed of her artistry. Like her voice now holds the emotion of all the things she was never allowed to say. When she sings or speaks or writes, she's transmuting old pain into resonance, turning broken syllables into sound that mends. So every lyric, every phrase feels like the release of something sacred. And Chiron in Gemini also often carries the gift of endless curiosity mixed with self doubt. So Cynthia's thoughts are kaleidoscopic, they're full of layers and nuance, but she may question her own intelligence or clarity. And that questioning keeps her humble and open. It's really what makes her work feel so alive and real. Like she doesn't just listen to what people say, she hears what they mean. And this gives her an uncanny emotional intelligence. Her intuition fills in what language leaves out, allowing her to connect with audiences and collaborators on a deep, unspoken level. And Chiron in Gemini gives her a unique frequency that vibrates with empathy. Like people feel seen and comforted and understood when she sings, as if she's giving words to emotions they couldn't express themselves. And for someone with Chiron and Gemini, silence isn't emptiness, it's information. So in her childhood, those quiet moments may have felt lonely or heavy, but in adulthood, they've become sacred. She learned to find wisdom in stillness and to trust what her soul says when the world goes quiet.
Yeah, this placement will give her a mission to communicate things that other people might be afraid to admit. So she speaks for parts of humanity that might feel voiceless. And her art bridges the space between intellect and emotion, turning vulnerability into a language. And also, people with Chiron and Gemini might carry the fear of not like feeling smart enough or clear enough or even articulate enough. And I'm also wondering if people who have Chiron and Gemini think that when they talk, maybe people think they're not being authentic because Gemini is the sign of the twins. So we always look at the two sides of things when it comes to Gemini. So she might have felt like this early pressure to feel like she needs to sound perfect all the time or to express herself flawlessly. And she draws people in, like people who feel like their voice needs to be heard would probably feel really comfortable talking to Cynthia because she will naturally attract people who do feel silenced or who don't feel seen. And they sense in her like this deep understanding of what it means to fight for your voice. And she mirrors back the healing that she's had to once claim for herself, reminding others that every voice, even if it's really soft, low, or delicate, can have a lot of power. And her greatest medicine is expression. For Cynthia, singing, speaking, and writing, it's not this optional hobby to do, it's a destiny. Her Chiron in Gemini is like this sacred bridge between her pain and her purpose. And every time she uses her voice, she heals a little more, and so does everyone else who is listening to her.
What a special gift she has to heal others with her voice. And it
Yeah,
just goes to show that, like, Chiron is not a curse, it's really a gift and gives you an opportunity to evolve into your greatest life purpose. So, all you Chiron and Gemini babies, it's okay. Take inspiration from beautiful Cynthia Erivo here.
I love how you said life purpose because I feel like next we should talk about Cynthia's life path.
Ooh, great idea. Okay. So let's talk about her Libra South Node and her Aries North Node. This really represents her soul evolution when we talk about the North Node and the South Node. So, first, let's talk about the South Node, which in your chart, it represents what kind of person you were born into this world as and what your childhood shaped you as. And so, Cynthia has her South Node in Libra at 16 degrees. And this means that Cynthia came into this life already wise. There's an ancient calm in her aura. It's the kind that doesn't have to be taught, it's remembered. And her soul carries the imprint of someone who spent lifetimes navigating the unpredictable waters of relationships, duty, and grace. She arrived with the spirit of the retired sea captain, someone who has known chaos, steered others through it, and now carries peace as second nature. And even as a child, she seemed composed beyond her years. While other kids might have flared up in emotion, Cynthia likely had a natural sense of poise and quiet watchfulness. She noticed the undercurrents in a room before anyone said a word. And that goes back to that captain's instinct, like scanning the horizon, reading the emotional weather. and knowing how to keep balance when others lose theirs. So her early wound may have felt noisy or, pardon me, her early world might have felt noisy or unpredictable at times, but she absorbed it all with an inner stillness, as if she'd already learned that storms pass. And there's kind of something old fashioned in this placement, like the Libra South Node. It's a touch of timeless elegance. Like Cynthia probably learned early how to create peace around her and how to soothe tension and how to make beauty out of what could have been chaos. Adults might have seen her as polite, well mannered, or emotionally mature, but that refinement wasn't about appearance. It was her soul remembering its nature. She came in this life knowing how to harmonize and how to sense when to step forward and when to step back and how to keep people safe. And at the same time, that grace might have carried a subtle weight. The retired captain inside her knew too much too soon, like knew to how to keep calm even when she didn't feel like it, and knew how to read moods that weren't hers to carry. So she might have taken on the role of mediator, the little one who kept everyone steady without realizing that she was doing it. And beneath that composure was sensitivity. There was a softness that felt everything deeply, but expressed it gently. And in those early years, she was like a soul freshly returned from a long voyage. She carried the quiet authority in her spirit, that rare blend of empathy, artistry, and perception that made her both seem delicate and wise. She didn't need to control the tides, she simply understood them. And that understanding shaped her earliest connections, her sense of beauty, and the emotional rhythm she would later bring into her art.
So that's the kind of person that she was born into this life as. And whenever she gets into this energy, when she is being a little too balanced or trying to be too much of a mediator, it's probably not the best for her evolution. And when she leans into Aries energy as to her North Node, the universe kind of rewards that. It might be really uncomfortable for her to step into Aries energy, but when she does, it just works. So her Aries North Node is at 16 degrees. So what this is showing is she's learning the art of sovereignty. Her North Node in Aries is calling her to be maybe more independent in her spirit. And between 16 and 17 degrees, we're going to look at the Sabian symbol of that, which shows two women just kind of hanging out and being quiet with each other. So on the surface, this image of the two women together, it looks like a quiet scene, but beneath that stillness is a whole meaning. These two women are showing dignity and restraint and self-possession. And these women, they're not lonely women, they're centered women. These two women found strength in their own company. Like they're so confident in themselves that they can sit with just a buddy and just kind of be quiet and just enjoy the moment. So for Cynthia, with her North Node here, it's reflecting a lifetime where she's learning to hear her own voice without it being really echoed through other people. In past lives, she might have really been defined through who is she with, like who is she married to, who's her partner. She was like all defined on the role she played in other people's lives. But now in this life, her spirit is seeking something more simpler and something more powerful. Like it's this whole sense of peace that comes from her just being herself and by herself. Her soul wants to know that when she stands for when no one else is watching, it's like who she is when the room goes silent and the applause fades. That's what's like really growth for her. So this is not like it sounds like it's isolating, but it's really not this isolating placement. It's really about being refined in who you are. It teaches Aries energy, teaches self-trust and not worrying about what other people think. And this particular degree is really adding to this lesson. It's not about like fighting for people to see her. It's about just being seen and who it is. So she's learning to find companionship within herself, where the inner masculine and the inner feminine in this quiet understanding. So for Cynthia, the most cultivating creative This means cultivating creative independence, personal conviction, and the ability to move forward even when no one else can see her vision yet. And with that Mars in Pisces placement at 29 degrees, she gets some wild, wild, out of this world visions. And it's her mission to embrace it and not worry about what other people think about it. There's something like really sacred about her North Node because it's suggesting that her growth is not going to come from drama or external validation. It's from this quiet bravery of knowing who she is. So she's really here to embrace her own authority and to trust her instincts, even when they lead her away from this familiar harmony that she had as a child or from past lives. So once she's found purpose in partnership, she's now going to find it in her own authenticity. So in this lifetime, she's really not meant to like create peace everywhere. She's more of like the captain of her own vessel, charting a course by her own inner compass. Her path is not about avoiding solitude or anything like that, but it's really about understanding the richness of only depending on yourself and your own personal validation. And through her own silence, she gains power. And through her own self reliance, she gains freedom that her Venus in Sagittarius really craves. And through that freedom, she becomes not only her own guide, but definitely like an example to others of how peace and independence can coexist in the same soul.
Well, Ashlee, I love hearing about her North Node because that Aries energy really explains like what she's evolving into and like how she's really been such an individual presence as Elphaba, like such a unique individual vibe.
Definitely.
I think to close out our Cynthia deep dive, we should talk about some of her asteroids in her chart. Everybody knows how much I love asteroids. So there are over 25,000 named asteroids in the sky, and they are names that are places and people, and you can relate them to your chart if you spend a little time looking into them. And so we wanted to look at some of Cynthia's, starting with asteroid Cynthia at 18 degrees Pisces. And this is exactly conjunct her Jupiter in Pisces. So this is one of
That's
those
so cool.
signatures. Isn't that so cool? This is one of those signatures that instantly makes you think, wow, like she was destined to be propelled onto the world stage in such a positive, expansive way because Jupiter brings optimism, opportunity, and growth. And because Pisces rules film and imagination, it makes total sense that Wicked would be the project that made her a household name. And what's really interesting is that asteroid Cynthia also forms a sextile to her Capricorn sun. And this really shows how she's worked step by step, steadily climbing her mountain through dedication and discipline. Like over time, through that full Saturn cycle, she's built her success brick by brick and really embodies the best of her Capricorn energy. And then speaking of Saturn, asteroid Cynthia is square her Saturn in Sagittarius, which tells us that her path to recognition wasn't instant. She's worked long and hard to refine her craft, set strong boundaries, and define herself on her own terms. And
Whoa.
and then it keeps going. Asteroid Cynthia is square her Chiron in Gemini, which adds another layer, healing around voice, communication, and being understood. And I just thought it was so perfect that her book is called simply more a book for anyone who's been told they're too much. Because if that isn't asteroid Cynthia conjunct Jupiter and square Saturn and Chiron, like I don't know what is. Her book really beautifully encapsulates this energy. It makes sense that she's releasing it after Wicked thrust her into the public eye because that's the Chiron and Gemini square in action. It's through that expansion of visibility, she feels called to share how she's healed the wounds around her voice and how she's perceived. And she's really turned that healing into art.
That is brilliant. And it also explains why she wasn't, I don't believe she was a child star, because with the square going on between Cynthia and Saturn, shows that she needed time to build her fame.
Exactly. I just thought that was so cool. When I looked at asteroid Cynthia in the chart, it was completely lit up with all those aspects, and it just really tells the story of her life. And then I thought it would be fun to look at asteroid Oz in her chart because, she is in Wicked. And get this, it is at 28 degrees Virgo, opposite her Mars in Pisces, and sextile her Venus in Sagittarius. And to me, this is such a beautiful reflection of her role as Elphaba because she literally studied the original theater performance of Wicked, working with that meticulous Virgo energy of Oz in her chart, and then took inspiration from every moment and nuance of that performance. And then the opposition to Mars and Pisces brings in her dreaminess and emotional power to her unique individual performance and the way she channels feeling through her body, her grace, and the poetry and how she moves through the world. And then do you want to talk about the sextile to asteroid Oz?
Yeah, so her asteroid Oz is making a sextile to her Venus in Sagittarius. And that's likely where her artistry really blossoms into her role. It speaks to the beauty that she brings into everything she does. And it's the way she weaves pieces of her own culture into the character of Elphaba, from the micro braids in her hair to the gorgeous nails and also her stunning red carpet looks during the Wicked press tour. And that's Venus and Sagittarius connection shows her commitment to honoring her heritage and expanding beauty across cultures, bringing the most radiant, authentic version of herself into the character.
And then, speaking of beauty, let's talk about asteroid Bella, which is the asteroid that represents your unique expression of beauty in the chart. So, Cynthia has hers at 16 degrees Gemini, conjunct her Chiron. And this makes so much sense. In order for her to feel the most beautiful, she's had to heal the wounds around communication and around how she expresses herself and how she's perceived. And that ties right back to her book, Simply More, a book for anyone who's been told they're too much. That's pure Bella conjunct Chiron in Gemini energy. It's learning that your voice and your fullness aren't flaws to shrink, but gifts to embrace. And what's also interesting is that asteroid Bella is opposite her Saturn in Sagittarius, showing that this journey of beauty and self acceptance unfolded over time, the full 30-year Saturn cycle of learning, discipline, and self definition. It wasn't easy. It was something she had to build step by step through every challenge and lesson life brought her. And now, having completed that Saturn cycle, she's stepping into her most radiant, authentic expression. It's healing for all of us to witness her embodying beauty on her own terms. And her choice to shave her head is the perfect symbol of this energy, communicating beauty through simplicity, through honesty, and through release. That's Chiron and Gemini meeting Saturn's restraint, showing that you can be stripped down, bare, and still shine with breathtaking light.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it shows also when there's a planet in opposition of Saturn, that means that there's a midpoint in between your Saturn returns where it's going to highlight whatever's in opposition to it, which I think is pretty cool. So when she's about 17 and when she's about 44 years old, she's going to experience a lesson or something big in asteroid Bella. So when she turns 44, she's going to probably experience this beautifying upgrade in her communication.
Ooh, so interesting. I love that you brought that up. Wow. And then we got to talk about some of her singing asteroids. And I really thought this was so fascinating. So Cynthia has asteroid Harmonia at 27 degrees Capricorn, and it's co-present with her Sun, Mercury, and Neptune. And I really think that says everything because the way Cynthia sings feels like it comes straight from the depths of her soul, structured, grounded, and full of feeling. That's the Capricorn energy at work. It's devotion, precision, and mastery. And with Mercury there, it's her voice as communication. With the sun, it's her soul shining through every note. And Harmonia, blending with both, gives her that rare balance, a voice that's technically perfect and deeply emotional. And then you add Neptune, and that's really where the magic comes in. There's this dreamlike, ethereal quality to how she sings, and that's pure wicked energy, the Elphaba vibe. Like she's channeling something higher every time she opens her mouth. And she also has asteroid Singer at 11 degrees Aries, which I love because that's all about individuality. So when Cynthia sings, she's not blending in, she's leading. Aries brings that fire, that confidence, that unmistakable, this is me energy. And then here's where it gets even cooler because her Singer asteroid is conjunct Ariana's Singer asteroid in her chart. They both sit around 9 to 11 degrees. And we talked about this in part 2 of our Ariana deep dive, but it's worth repeating. Both of them embody this bold, independent Singer energy. They stand side by side, totally unique, yet perfectly complementary, just like Elphaba and Glinda. Each holds her own power, her own tone, her own magic, and together they make something truly iconic.
Oh, and what's so cool is that with Cynthia's North Node in Aries, it's pretty close to asteroid Singer. So whenever she does sing, it's like it's helping her embrace the originality and to not care so much what people think. It's giving her that individual star power that her soul wants to accomplish in this life. And Ariana has her North Node in Sagittarius at 11 degrees. So when Ariana sings with Cynthia, it creates a trine because Aries and Sagittarius are both fire. So when she sings and embraces that Aries energy also, it's only helping her get to where she needs to be. And for Ariana, it's about being a person who's not acting on the stage, about embracing who she is, not being a performer, but as a friend. So it's really cool how that when they both sing, that it's helping them achieve their life purpose together.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that connection you made there. That's awesome. And speaking of Ariana, we have to talk about asteroid Ariana Grande, which, by the way, we explored also in our Ariana deep dive. This is an actual asteroid named after Ariana. And in Cynthia's chart, asteroid Ariana Grande sits at 17 degrees Sagittarius, exactly conjunct her Saturn in Sagittarius, and opposite her Chiron in Gemini. And it's also square her Jupiter and asteroid Cynthia in Pisces. So this one is super juicy. So let's talk first about the connection to Saturn, because this really blew my mind. Once Cynthia went through her Saturn return, she literally stepped into her collaboration with Ariana Grande, taking the world by storm. Like Saturn
Whoa.
rules. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So Saturn or Sagittarius rules expansion, culture, and the global stage. So it's like the universe saying, you've done the work, you've refined your craft, now you're ready to share it with the world with Ariana Grande. And with this asteroid Ariana Grande conjunct both Saturn and asteroid Cynthia, it's such a poetic alignment. It speaks to a lifetime of discipline, practice, and growth, all culminating in this partnership because Saturn is achievement, legacy, and mastery. And so this connection feels like Cynthia meeting a mirror, someone who activates the very themes that she's been building toward her whole life. And can you talk about what's interesting about the opposition to Chiron?
Yeah, so it's so cool that asteroid Ariana Grande is also opposite her own Chiron in Gemini. So Gemini is the sign of the twins, which of course makes total sense for Elphaba and Glinda. This opposition suggests that the connection might have been challenging at first for them. Maybe triggering some old insecurities around communication or comparison. But through this dynamic, Cynthia was able to heal something really deep inside herself, learning to collaborate, to harmonize, and to express her full voice in partnership. So, also, asteroid Ariana Grande squaring her Jupiter and asteroid Cynthia and Pisces. That's where we see the creative tension that pushed her even higher. Jupiter in Pisces already promised that she was destined for film magic, and that square shows how this partnership with Ariana really helped refine her confidence, her boundaries, and her star power. Working alongside such an established pop star could have been super intimidating, but instead of overshadowing her, Ariana became the catalyst that helped Cynthia rise to her fullest potential. So when you look at their whole dynamic from an asteroid perspective, it's simply stunning. Two artists fated to find each other, each reflecting each other's magic. And together, they embody the beauty of collaboration over competition, the perfect cosmic harmony of Alphaba and Glinda, two stars shining side by side. I love women supporting women. So
Oh,
beautiful.
beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Cynthia's chart is just incredible. It's like everything about her, her voice, her discipline, her empathy, it's all written in the stars with such purpose. She really embodies what it means to be both grounded and divine all at the same time.
Totally. There's such a sacred balance in her chart with Capricorn structure meeting Pisces soul, Saturn's wisdom meeting Neptune's dream. You can just feel it when she sings or performs. And it's not just talent, it's transcendence.
Yes, it's that energy of someone who's walked through her lessons step by step and turned them into light. And when you layer in all those asteroids, Cynthia, Oz, Bella, Harmonia, Singer, and even Ariana Grande, it paints the full picture of a woman stepping fully into her destiny.
She's not just playing a role, she is living a myth. Cynthia and Ariana were both destined to bring Wicked to life, to embody Elphaba and Glinda as cosmic reflections of each other.
And this brings us perfectly to what's coming next.
Yes, because in our next episode, we are talking all about Emerald City, diving into the astrology of Wicked itself. We will explore the cosmic themes behind the story, the archetypes of Alphaba and Glinda, and how this musical mirrors collective healing and the feminine empowerment through the stars.
So, if you've ever felt like the misunderstood witch, the good girl finding her voice, or somewhere in between, you are not going to miss this one.
We'll see their wishes. It's going to be so magical.
And if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share the episode with your besties in your Astro Curious group chat. And as always, thank you so much for listening to Planetary Princesses. Thank you for joining us, Cosmic Royal family. Keep shining like the star you are, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.